710 ESPN. This is Lakers Talk with Allen Sliwa.
It's one thing to win by a couple points. It's another thing to dominate like the Lakers did, and just no question about it in these last three games.
Three-pointer by LeBron is perfect.
You see what he did? He shot the ball, and the ball was halfway there. He turned around and looked at the bench. Didn't even see it go through the hoop.
It's Lakers Talk.
I think all of us are having a good time right now, but you have a good time when you win it. When you win and you also learn from your wins, that's fun.
And the bench is dancing.
Yeah.
From the home of the 17-time world champion Lakers at LA Live, this is Lakers Talk.
Lakers Talk is on. Here's Allen Sliwa.
What is going on, Laker fans? What is going on? Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show. This is the post-game show to Lakers Talk on 710. So basically just to explain it. So we just finished Lakers Talk, 2 hours on 710. You think we're done there? We're not done there. We got to come over here. Got to do a social show. So everybody, thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys following in. Get in on the chat, and I'll try to read off some comments as we go. We got a lot to get into, Laker fans. Sometimes I get on, and I might shoot the you-know-what with you guys a little bit. There's a long agenda here, okay? I got to come back to work tomorrow. So let's get straight to business. All right, so we know Lakers taking on the Pelicans tomorrow. Before we kind of start talking about that game and some of these youngsters that the Lakers used to have on their roster, used to have on their squad, before we do that, how about this start for the Lakers? Okay. Now, listen, I understand. Do not get me wrong. I get it. These last three games, you played 2 games against the Houston Rockets where their star player literally wanted nothing to do with the games. I never seen James Harden like that. James Harden looked so disinterested in his job. And then obviously yesterday, that deal goes down. We're going to spend a lot of time on that. I couldn't get off that topic today on Lakers Talk. So I was talking about, the trade, how it affects the Lakers and everything else. And you got callers calling in. I'm like, guys, got to move on from this topic. But I understand that the Rockets are not a good basketball team. And, James Harden didn't want to be there. I understand the Oklahoma City Thunder have about 444 draft picks over the next 5 years for a reason. Is because they're completely rebuilding. But I'll say this. Lakers demolished those teams in the last 3 games. I mean, by halftime, the games weren't even close. It's one thing to win and beat teams you're supposed to beat, and these are teams the Lakers are supposed to beat, so I get it. I understand that. But you've seen the Lakers kind of squeak by against the Memphis Grizzlies or, they beat the San Antonio Spurs, 2 of them in San Antonio, but they weren't these crazy wins. They just got by the Chicago Bulls by 2. These last 3 games, Lakers just dominated. So what does that mean? That means they're 10-3 on the season. It means they got the best record in the NBA. And it shouldn't be a surprise or a shock. It really shouldn't. I've talked about this. I've emphasized this. Go look at the Lakers' schedule. It's very advantageous to start the season. I mean, I don't know how right now we only have the schedule through March 4th. I don't know what the schedule is going to look like after that. But I got to imagine it's going to get a lot tougher. But at least for now, Lakers are taking advantage of the schedule that they got in front of them. Oh, by the way, they're also a really damn good team. And, this shouldn't be a surprise or anything along those lines, but they're handling business. So you're 10-3, best record in the NBA. You're 7-0 on the road. Explain this one to me, Laker fans. Lakers are 3-3 at Staples Center. What's going on at home? 3-3 at Staples Center. But their next 2 games, you got the Pelicans and you got the Golden State Warriors. So let's see if Lakers can keep rolling. But that's their only losses so far. Literally, their only losses so far this year are all home games. All right. O.C. O'Neal says now the Lakers will get tested. Everybody wants to go James Harden. Everybody wants to talk James Harden and everybody wants to talk about James Harden and the Brooklyn Nets. I'm going to do that in a second. Aniket says no crowd at home affects the games. That could have something to do with it. It definitely can. So let me put a wrap on this one. Great start. It's good to see the Lakers taking advantage of the schedule that they got in front of them. They got a couple games coming up right now that they should continue to take advantage. By the way, they win these next two at home, they'll be 12-3. You go the first 15 games 12-3, and then you go on a 7-game road trip where you're going to face Philly. You got Boston. You got the Bucks. Atlanta's a part of that road trip. I think Detroit and Cleveland. So you'll eventually get some tests coming. Okay, so I threw this out there, Laker fans. I threw out, which team do you think would be tougher in a 7-game set? The Brooklyn Nets, who obviously just got James Harden, or the Los Angeles Clippers? So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what happened yesterday, how it affects the Lakers, and we'll do all that. But it's very interesting how everybody is on completely different sides here when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. I took some calls where people were saying I worry much more about the Clippers than I'd worry about the Brooklyn Nets. I took other calls that were, what are you talking about? The Brooklyn Nets got, a couple MVPs, and Kyrie Irving, if he's Kyrie Irving, the type of player that he could be. So I'll ask Laker fans out there, who'd be tougher in a 7-game set? The Clippers or the Brooklyn Nets? I threw this up on Twitter yesterday. Twitter, I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Small website, startup company. But I threw this up yesterday. I said something to the effect of, who's the favorites to win a championship, Lakers or Nets? I'm never doing that ever again, because 95% were Lakers. I mean, I'm all Lakers conversation, so let's just say nobody was picking the Nets. But I think this one's a more interesting conversation of who would be tougher in a 7-game set, the Nets or the Clippers. All right, let's see what we got here. O.C. O'Neal says Nets all the way. Yang Yi says, this is on YouTube, both Clippers and Nets have no chemistry. I'm going to get into the chemistry part in just a second. Herman in California says neither one, and then doesn't say which team would be the tougher competition for the Lakers. Just says neither one. That's it. That's his contributions to the show. Theron Wright says, why y'all scared of Brooklyn? Nobody's saying we're scared of them, but they just literally made a blockbuster trade. The Nets is the new Laker hater capital. Kingman 310 says no team can beat us in a series. Okay. I think people who are underestimating those three dudes. Takes me a second here. I'm always off on that one. These three guys right here. I think people are underestimating that Brooklyn Nets deal. First of all, it's a no-brainer if you're the Brooklyn Nets. I know people are going to say, oh, they gave up so many draft picks and this. There are so many franchises that have so many draft picks and they don't know what to do with them. Or there are teams that are just they're careless with their draft picks, or they don't have good scouting, or whatever the case is. So it's not like it's a guaranteed lock that if you have draft picks, they're going to turn into young stars that will eventually be all-stars and then eventually be franchise players. Okay? Brooklyn's in a window to try to win a championship now. Let me use the Lakers as an example. You guys remember when the Lakers traded for Anthony Davis? There was definitely people out there saying Lakers gave up too much. I can't believe you gave up all those picks and the pick swaps and Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart and Lonzo Ball. They were just going down the list. A lot. I don't want to say there were a lot of people, but there were definitely people out there that were saying Lakers gave up too much for Anthony Davis. Okay? Here's the reality. Every situation is different. For the Lakers, it's different because Anthony Davis is a franchise player. You get to team him up with LeBron James, and he's the best two-way player in the league. I don't really care what the asking price is. You're probably going to give up whatever it takes or most of your assets to go get Anthony Davis. But the Lakers were in a win now predicament. It's not about waiting. Lakers are not going to wait with LeBron James as he's, he came to the Lakers when he was 34. He's 36 now. It's his 18th year in the league. 18th year? Yeah, 18th year in the league. So the Lakers were in a win now mode. Brooklyn is in a win now mode. So them going all in and grabbing James Harden, I'm not one of those people that are saying I would not have done that deal. I would do that deal, and I would roll the dice, and I would take my chances if I'm the Brooklyn Nets. And I'm also not one of those guys that thinks that they're now not the favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference. I definitely think they are. Are there a lot of question marks about the Brooklyn Nets? No, quite. Of course there is. I've said this 10 times. James Harden and me had the same body type coming into training camp. That's not good if you're James Harden, okay? James Harden and I should not look the same body type-wise. So James Harden's got to get back to being the MVP James Harden that he has been before in the league. I have no idea what Kyrie Irving's deal is. I really don't. I have no idea if Kyrie Irving is going to come back to the Brooklyn Nets or if he's not. But I'll tell you this. If I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I take my chances. I take my chances with those three players. 100% I take my chance with those three players. Now, is it going to work? I don't know. But if you would have told me, that those three players are going to be playing together, I'd be like, yeah, that's a pretty damn impressive team. I wonder how they're going to fill out the rest of the roster, and I wonder how, it's all going to work. Okay. All right. Tip says, Allen, do you show up at work, though? Don't understand it. Somebody else says, Allen versus Harden at Echo Park. That's a good game. I'm telling you right now, that's a good game. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. All right. Theron does not like it. He says, no, it's only one ball. Okay. Young says Sixers will beat the Nets in the playoffs. No Nets can defend Embiid. No Nets can defend Anthony Davis either, by the way. Elias says Nets won't be able to defend or the bench is weak. Three guys who need the ball. A lot of people do not like. It's crazy to me. There's a lot of people that don't think this is going to work. I guess I'm just surprised. By the way, why is this so much different than yesterday? Michael Thompson and I were doing this. By the way, the next topic will explain also where I'm coming from. You guys remember Michael and I yesterday were talking about worst trades in NBA history, and we're doing that because Lakers were about to play the Thunder, and part of the conversation was, do you think the Thunder would have won a championship if they did not trade James Harden? And the answer was yes. We thought they would have won an NBA championship eventually, if that team had 3-4 more years together. So why is that so much different than the squad now? Because it's James Harden, Kevin Durant, and instead of Russell Westbrook, you have Kyrie Irving. If Kyrie is Kyrie, the Kyrie that is just focused on basketball, I'd rather have Kyrie than Russell Westbrook. So we'll see if it works. But that's the squad that they got right there. I got Mike here saying defense wins championships. Mike, don't start throwing out cliches. I'm the cliche guy. I throw out the cliches. Okay? One game at a time. All right? All got to pull the rope in the same direction. I'm the cliche guy. All right. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show, by the way. By the way, quick shout out. God dang it. Power Pro Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Thank you to Power Pro. Thank you to Power Pro. Partner. Obviously, we greatly appreciate their partnership on this show. Been with 710 for like 6-7 years or so. We appreciate their partnership. they're as big a Laker fans as you're possibly going to find local out here in Southern California. So anytime you need their services, PowerPro Plumbing, Heating, and Air.com. Okay? All right. Let's keep going here. How important is chemistry? How much do you value chemistry? Because I think those who don't think that the Brooklyn Nets are going to be, the team to beat in the Eastern Conference or whatever the case is, or if they could put up a fight against the Lakers, this is what I think most fans are looking at when, you look at that team. You try to describe that team. Chemistry. Where's the chemistry? Do you know why the Clippers lost to the Denver Nuggets when they were up 3-1 and why they had double-digit leads in each series-clinching game and lost? Chemistry is 100% a part of it. And I think the way the Lakers have stood out from one of the ways that the Lakers have stood out from not just the Clippers, but any other team in the league, they like playing together. They 100% fight for one another. It's one thing to have. This is the unique combination that the Lakers have. Okay. By the way, Carlo, that picture that you have up right there, keep that up for a second. I'm going to get back to that picture in a second. Okay. All right. Keep that up. Just keep that up right there. Lakers have a very, very unique combination. This is what separates them from the rest of the league. Okay. Lakers got the star power. Star power is there. Anthony Davis, LeBron James. I don't have to sit here and talk about their resume. LeBron's still the best player in the world at age 36. Anthony Davis is the best two-way player in the league. And he's, both of these guys have leadership qualities. When Lakers lost to the Spurs at Staples Center, and I'm doing the postgame show, and, I'm throwing it over and say, all right, now coming up, Anthony Davis on the Lakers lost to the Spurs. And then you just hear AD. He sounded pissed. He's in a way calling out the team, not calling them out as in, pointing the finger at them, but just collectively, we got to do better. If we want to win another championship and we want to defend this crown, we got to play better defense. There's not enough communication. I mean, I'm listening to AD's conversation. I'm like, this is exactly what you want your superstar doing. And he holds himself accountable in that process. So you got two absolute superstars. And I'm not talking superstars like Harden and Westbrook. I'm talking superstars as in one of the greatest to ever play the game, still is the best player in the NBA, and you can make an argument that Anthony Davis is the second best player in the NBA. That type of superstars, okay? Then let's kind of look at, another layer here. Depth. Does your squad have depth? You can have superstars, but do you have role players and depth? Do I really need to get into what Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, Alex Caruso, Marc Gasol, Wesley Matthews, KCP, Markieff Morris, Talen Horton-Tucker, who's 20 freaking years old, and everybody wants to get more playing time because he's that good. Do I really need to get into the Lakers' depth? They got the depth. So superstars, check. Depth, check. The third thing that comes into play is chemistry. How important is chemistry? I think chemistry, if you have already the talent and you have already the depth, the third thing becomes, do you have the chemistry? Lakers got the chemistry. So I think that is the difference between some of these other teams out there. It's the complete package. So that's the spot that I think the Lakers are in. And I think, chemistry plays a major, major role in winning championships. And that's what gives the Lakers that full advantage right there. All right, let me read off a couple comments here. Oh, keep that picture up. Okay. So Kersey Becker says, Lakers players love playing with James and AD. Okay. When LeBron hit that corner three, this is just a perfect example. By the way, when LeBron hit that corner three, I'm like, that's the cleanest one I've ever seen, where a dude takes the three and then turns around while the ball is, still obviously on its way to the basket. And I'm like, this is the best one I've ever seen. Steph Curry, what are you talking about? Steph Curry hasn't done it like LeBron. Then I went and saw some Steph Curry highlights today. Yeah, Steph Curry's, those are pretty cold-blooded. Steph Curry had some cold-blooded ones out there, okay? But let me go back to the chemistry part, all right? And LeBron, by the way, said this. You guys heard it in the open. It's easy to be all smiles when you're winning. Okay, Lakers are going to face adversity, and then we'll find out what kind of team this is, but I'm pretty sure Lakers will be fine on that front because LeBron and AD are your leaders, okay? So LeBron shoots that corner three, and while the ball's in the middle of the air, here's this new guy that just came to the Lakers, Dennis Schroeder, tells LeBron, I bet you won't hit that. And LeBron decides, cool, while the ball's in the air, I'm going to turn around and tell him, I take your bet, making eye contact. The bench goes crazy, right? If you really look at that video, Marc Gasol is laughing in the corner. KCP doesn't know how to react. Wesley Matthews is like, what's going on? Dennis Schroeder is trying to follow LeBron back on the court. Why do I point that out? It's a team having fun. There's a balance. What you don't want is you come to work and it's just too serious and you're not enjoying yourself. What you also don't want is everybody's freaking screwing around. You're not getting any work done. But if you can have that balance, and I think Lakers have kind of that unique chemistry there, it stands out. All right. Read off a couple here. Why Lakers have the top bench in the NBA? Okay. Kenneth says Lakers lose to the Spurs and they took it personal. They did take it personal. I like it. Ian on Facebook says, speak on it, brother. I got you, Ian. That's right. I forgot Kuz. I named off all his players. Kuzma. My bad, guys. My bad. Now I got everybody saying that I purposely left Kuz off. No, my bad. Okay, let's do this. Let's get some roll call going. Let me know where you guys are tuned in from. Give you guys a quick shout out on here. Appreciate you guys, by the way, being a part of the show. Tomorrow we're going to do it all over again. All right. So, by the way, I'm not going anywhere. Just everybody relax. I'm just doing the roll call part. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I'll start giving some shout outs here. So this is the one thing. Everything just comes in so quick. South Carolina, appreciate you being a part of the show. Highland, I'm assuming Highland Park, thank you for being a part of the show. Singapore, Houston, someone's at King Taco. They're lying to me. Why would you lie to me? Here I am going out of my way to do a show for you. Why are you lying to me? Ohio, thank you for being a part of the show. Look at Jamaica. Even Jamaica rocking the Jamaican flag out there. Concord, California, Belize, San Diego, Ohio, North Hollywood, Pasadena, Mexicali, Mexico. Thank you for being a part of the show. Redondo, Vegas, Sugar Land, Texas, Temple City. Someone's at the San Diego Zoo. He's got comedians on this chat. Absolute comedians. South Carolina, Temecula. Keep going here. Vegas, Malaysia. All right, if you already put it in, don't keep putting it in. Whittier, Romania. Someone's at the Pepsi Center, of course. Maryland in the house. Arkansas. Mount Vernon, Washington, the Philippines. Someone's at Burrito King. Okay. Go get your burrito. Aztec Stadium. There we go. Madagascar, Echo Park basketball court. Eric Vidal is playing at Echo Park right now. Eric, let me tell you something right now. You're lucky. You're lucky I have a sore calf strain and I'm questionable for the next week. Because if the injury report didn't have me with a sore right calf and questionable for the next week, I'd be out there. What time is it right now? 9:30. I'd be out there in 1 hour. 1 hour I'd be out there. All right, Reno, thank you for being a part of the show. Anaheim. Melbourne, Australia. Appreciate you being a part of the show. Koreatown, San Francisco. We got everybody here. Alaska, thank you for being a part of the show. Okay, somebody asked me about something yesterday. By the way, we're ready to move on. Let's go to the better roster. This is more just a curiosity because I have Laker fans that will complain sometimes about the Lakers' lack of size, their height, their rim protection. So before I get into this one, so yesterday after the game, Arkansas, thank you for being a part of the show. Indonesia. By the way, if I'm looking this way, I'm just looking at the comments here. Oregon, thank you for being a part of the show. So yesterday, Laker game ends. Do the post-game show, right? Put in an hour for 7:10, do the post-game show. Then I go do my post-game show after the post-game show, which I do on YouTube. So if we have, people now that are, let's say, on Facebook, Periscope, wherever you guys are tuning in from, I do a show after my post-game show. And I do like a half-hour Lakers show. We talk Brooklyn trade. I break down, how the Lakers are doing, dismantling teams, all that. And I upload it up on YouTube. And I'm only bringing this up because somebody said, why did you delete yesterday's video? So I upload it, do the thumbnail, all that other stuff. I accidentally deleted the video. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sure I could just get the video back. YouTube doesn't let you. If you delete the video, it's gone. YouTube. It's my freaking video. I couldn't retrieve it. So apologize, guys. After all that, nothing. Mount Vernon in the house. Thank you. Someone said Zanku chicken. Don't be messing with Zanku chicken. That's a solid spot right there. That's some good eating right there. Okay. Let's get focused here, Laker fans. Get focused here. We got time for this. Which roster do you prefer more? Better roster. Last year's roster or this year's roster? Which roster do you like so far? By the way, let's not pretend that last year's roster for the Lakers was not solid. I mean, I love that roster. So many veterans. This is the difference between last year's roster and this year's roster, okay? You had size, right? So Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee just gave you this ridiculous size. Rajon Rondo, an incredible vet, and delivered for the Lakers in the playoffs. Danny Green was hot and cold, but you still could rely on him that once every 3 games he was going to hit a few threes. Okay. And then Avery Bradley obviously was not a part of the bubble, but still on the roster. So the biggest difference between last year's roster and this year's roster, I'm getting a lot of Laker fans telling me that the Lakers are struggling rim defending, right? Size and protecting the rim and everything else. Well, I will tell you this. So Lakers are 3rd in the NBA right now in blocks per game. So even with this lack of size that we're talking about, Lakers are still 3rd in the NBA as far as blocks go. Okay. And I'm with you guys. I loved that roster last year. I really do. Philly, by the way, is number 1. Dwight Howard's on Philly, but don't forget Joel Embiid is already there as well. Best defensive rating in the NBA. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. Best defensive rating right now. 13 games in. We've played some squads that me and 4 of you guys can probably put a game up against them. I know that the schedule's been favorable, but best defensive rating in the NBA. I'll tell you this. I think this team has more potential. Last year's roster was solid. Up and down, it was solid. But I think this year's team has more upside. It has higher potential. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Montrezl Harrell is the best player off the bench that the Lakers didn't have a year ago, right? So he was the Lakers' best bench player. He is the Lakers' best bench player, period. But you still have Kuzma still on your team and Alex Caruso still on your team. You kind of go down the list of, some of these other players. But Montrezl Harrell is just a beast. And the dude is an undersized big man that will play bully ball. And he doesn't need the ball I had James Worthy on. Big game James Worthy came on Lakers Talk. By the way, if you want to listen to that, go back to ESPN app or iTunes and just search Lakers Talk with Allen Sliwa. You'll get that interview. And James Worthy was highlighting Montrez is great. Okay, so you have that addition off the bench. Dennis Schroeder is a huge upgrade in the starting lineup based upon what the Lakers already had. And then you can go 11 deep this year, which I think you could have gone 10 deep last year. But I feel like the upside is higher with this Lakers team over last year's roster. That's my personal opinion. Let's see what you guys got. Frankie says, room to grow to be elite. Juggernaut says we need Dwight for the playoffs. By the way, a lot of people miss Dwight Howard, and I get it. You know, somebody's pointing out here that Marc Gasol, I got Sigman TV saying Mark doing the best he can there, getting 4 blocks sometimes. I think Marc Gasol is getting more criticism than it's justified. Last 2 games, 2 steals, 2 block shots. Yesterday, 4 block shots. It's not like Gasol's supposed to be coming in here. And if you guys think he's going to be Dikembe Mutombo, he's not going to be on the defensive side. But he's got assets that he brings to the Lakers, even though I know it's different than what they had in some of their big men last year. We have great team defense. Read a couple more here. Missing Dwight. A lot of people miss Dwight. Montrez can do it all. Analdo says we have yet to play solid basketball. I'll tell you what, Analdo, when they go on that 7-game road trip, we'll get a good chance to see this Lakers team. Philly, Boston, and Milwaukee. Those are 3 really good opponents in the Eastern Conference. So I'm looking forward to that. Herman says we are deeper this year. Ron likes our bench. Couple more on here. Mrs. O says Gasol was solid the last 2 games. People pointing out Rajon Rondo, how important he was. Definitely important last year. So, anyways, as I look at it, the way I really look at it, to be honest with you, we got a fun team. We got a talented team, but I think there's more potential with this team. There's more upside with this team. Last year, I think you peaked. Like that's you knew what you were going to get, and it was a championship team. But some of those veterans, they had limitations where I don't think Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, some of these other guys kind of coming into their own. I don't think they have limitations. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on that front. Okay, let's keep moving here. I'm already working overtime. I think my plan was to do a half hour. I think I'm already at a half hour. Okay? Come on, Laker fans. Getting distracted here. All right, which young Laker? Okay, young former Lakers. Okay, now I know the topic. So Lakers taking on the Pelicans tomorrow. We're going to see Brandon Ingram. We're going to see Lonzo Ball. We're going to see Josh Hart. So here's my question to Laker fans. First of all, are you still following the young Lakers? Do you still spend time kind of following them? Do you have a curiosity? Hey, how's Julius Randle doing? Or what's Jordan Clarkson doing? Or any of that? Do you still follow them? And the other question I was going to ask is, who was your favorite of those young Lakers that were on the team over the last 5 years? I'm going to throw a couple names out there. We had Larry Nance Jr. We had Jordan Clarkson. We had Julius Randle, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram. Who else am I missing? I don't think anybody likes Ivica Zubac just because he's on the Clippers. It's not his fault. It's like the nicest guy in the world. So a lot of people here. No, nobody's following them. So I kind of thought I would. When the Lakers traded them away, I was like, oh, probably, keep an eye on, see how these guys are doing. I haven't seen anything from any of these players. But I will tell you my favorite player that I really, really enjoyed watching, and I do have some curiosity to see how he's, continuing to do. B.I. was my guy. I loved watching Brandon Ingram. Two-way player, just kind of a perfect body type in the NBA. I mean, he could put on 10, 15 pounds, but I think he's got an incredible upside in the league, and that's one player that I enjoyed watching over the years with the Lakers. All right, I got a couple Brandon Ingrams here. I got a Josh Hart here, Julius Randle here, a couple of Julius Randles. Somebody saying Lonzo's still not good. I looked at Lonzo's stats. I think he's 12, 4, and 4 a game. That's not enough. It's not enough. Lonzo's got to be 14, 7, and 7. You know, if he was 14, 7, and 7, 15, 8, and 8, something along those lines. But we'll just have to see. That's right, D'Angelo Russell. I forgot about D'Angelo. Amit says he follows D'Lo. I was never a D'Lo guy. I don't know what it is. I was never a D'Angelo Russell guy. When they traded him, I was actually ecstatic that the Lakers traded him. Okay. Laker fans, if you got some questions, start piling with your questions now. Tomorrow, Lakers taking on the Pelicans, so looking forward to these next two games. So you got some questions, start sending them in now. I'll answer the questions. Got a couple people saying Lonzo is too passive. Actually, you know what? Jordan Clarkson and Smith on Facebook says Jordan Clarkson. Because Utah is actually competitive and they're good, and Clarkson plays a role off the bench, I don't mind watching Jordan Clarkson either. He's got a good fit with the Utah Jazz. He really does. All right, let's see what questions we got here. Ooh, Laker wisdom. Great question. What are you eating tonight? It's a great question. And probably one of the best questions I've had in a while. By the way, Laker wisdom, I appreciate you kind of asking me, checking in on me, see how I'm doing, what I'm eating later tonight. A lot of other Laker fans, they just, they use me for the content. They use me for what they need, and then that's it. Throw me to the side. Tonight I'm going to probably do some chicken. Probably some chicken and rice when I get home. Maybe some vegetables. It's actually already cooked. It's just waiting for me. Just kind of heat it up, and then get back to Boardwalk Empire. I'm in a marathon right now at Boardwalk Empire. So thank you for asking that question. Someone's asking about Zion tomorrow. No, I think Zion's a go. Zion didn't play. Zion didn't play against the Clippers. I think he had a false, inconclusive test, but I think he's good to go against the Lakers tomorrow. Do you like the LeBron viral skit? Are you talking about that dude that LeBron getting the news of James Harden? Freaking hilarious. I just actually watched it. I don't know, within the last couple hours or so. Hilarious. I don't know whose account it was, but it got crazy amount of views. And I'm not doing a good job of describing it, nor am I doing a good job of trying to tell people where they can watch it, but I like the viral video. Type in LeBron viral video. You guys will find it. Okay, Lakers schedule coming up. I'll tell you guys right now, Lakers schedule coming up, okay? Pelicans tomorrow. Warriors coming up on Monday. Okay, Lakers, here's a question for you. What will be the Lakers' record in that 7-game road trip? They got a 7-game road trip, okay? 7-game road trip. Milwaukee, Chicago, Cleveland, Philly, Detroit, Boston, and Atlanta. I think if you came out of that road trip 5-2, that's a really good road trip. Really good road trip. I think if you came back 4-3, it's like, okay, we 4-3. Anything other than that is not a good road trip. But if you came out 5-2, that's a solid road trip. I had a prediction on the first 15 games. It was 11-4. I'll be more than happy to be wrong on that. Who is better right now, Kuz or Talen Horton-Tucker? Good question. And I don't even think I hesitate on this one. Kuzma is better right now than Talen Horton-Tucker because he's got more time. He's more comfortable in his role. He understands his role. Talen Horton-Tucker is trying to figure things out on the fly. He's 20 years old. He's playing on the championship roster, and he's trying to figure things out. Now, if you told me who's got more upside and potential, Talen's going to be a nice player in this league. He's going to be a really nice player in this league. But the guy needs a couple seasons to freaking understand the NBA, And that's one of the advantages that I think Kuz has on him right now. Frank Vogel long term? Yes. No question about it. All right. Okay, I got a lot of people saying 7-0. Okay. 7-0 on their road trip. What happened to yesterday's video? Ernie, I already told the whole story. I already talked literally about the whole story, what happened to yesterday's video. Okay? I deleted it by accident. Can't get it back. It's over. Got to move on. Let me see what I got here. THT is forcing it. He is forcing it, by the way. He is. Last couple games, he's definitely forcing it. But they're blowouts. I think he's trying to just kind of figure things out here as he goes. Okay, Laker fans. I think that's all we got. Thank you. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Always enjoy doing this, by the way. These social shows are fantastic. I love the interaction. Next game for the Lakers tomorrow. So I'll get another one of these up. Pre-game show tomorrow at 5:30, myself and Michael Thompson. And then, obviously, the game with John Ireland and Michael Thompson. Post-game, I'll go on. We'll do my hour show, and then I'll do another post-game show on YouTube. Keep following all these ESPN Los Angeles platforms. Carlo, who's the man in the background making this stuff happen, he's obviously trying to put out as much content as he can. Starting tomorrow morning, 5 a.m., Keyshawn, J. Will, Zubin, and Travis. So the conversation will continue about the Lakers and a lot of conversation about the Rams this weekend against the Packers. So thank you for being a part of the show. Greatly appreciate it. You guys have a good rest of your night, and we'll get at you soon.